late Saturday afternoon at the conference. Beth, Kay, and Priscilla joined together for a panel discussion. And as you'll see, the ladies responded to audience questions and no subject was left untouched.
We feel you, girl.
We feel you. And we want you ladies to know that being in ministry is tough. You can get hurt. It's injurious at times. Okay, y'all are going to have to come sit here.
We love you, Miss Kay.
I love you.
Can y'all believe that she just taught us for 2 hours in a wheelchair? We're going to do some question and answer. We're going to answer some questions that we have gotten from these women in this room. Now, are we going to stay like this? Are we going to?
Please get in the chair.
I think she wants us to move over.
Okay,
here.
come on, let's get in the chair.
And I have no idea. I want to see your hair fall.
Okay. Would you get me?
We just wanted to celebrate you. We wanted to celebrate you, Miss Kay.
No, it scared me.
I know. You got to lock them.
Okay, we've got some questions from these ladies. Wait, this first question, I think this is the most deeply theological question I really have ever come across. Someone wants to know, what is your favorite lipstick color?
Kay, you go first. Yeah, I think color.
Yeah. What's your take on lipstick, Miss Kay?
I meant to go to the drugstore first. I found one in the drugstore. It's just real cheap. And it's got a color on this end, and you pull it out, and I put it on, and then I put another lipstick on top of it, and I still have pink lips at the end of the day.
So it's like a base coat, and then the lipstick.
Yes, it's like a base coat, but it doesn't dry you out. And see, when you're my age, you got to watch the cracks. Well, you just don't know. I'm going to write a book on what to get ready for.
Well, we really don't yet know how old you are. It was 59, then 69, 71, 73.
That's good.
Okay,
That's
you look good.
Okay, but do you wear like a lip pencil?
No,
You don't?
I used to.
You used
But
to.
then what I found out is the inside would go away and the pencil would be there, and you'd look like an old lady.
Don't you hate when that happens?
This is a deeply theological.
Okay, now I have a fixation on lipstick. I totally love lipstick.
Yeah.
And I especially love lip plumper. Has anyone besides me discovered such a thing? And I've got to tell y'all the funniest thing that happened some months ago at church. I told you about the little girls I hang with at church, and one of them had come over to hug me one Sunday morning, thrown her arms around me, and to my surprise, she kissed me right smack on the lips. I mean, that's just not usually what she does. She just kissed me right smack on the lips, and I looked at her mother and went, if in any second her lips grow like this, it's because I'm wearing lip plumper. Amen?
I just have never really needed any lip plumper.
Give thanks.
I just wonder if there's anybody else in the house just don't need no lip plumper. Is anybody?
I got to tell you honestly.
I don't need any lip plumper, Miss Beth, and I don't need a mystic tan. Miss Beth gets these mystic tans. You gotta tell me how the mystic tans go. Show us how.
And I want to tell y'all something. It fades after a couple of days, and when I got here yesterday, I was as dark as Priscilla. We put our arms next to one another. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing goes, and I mean, you're tan within 4 hours.
But do you just...
Yeah,
Are you tan all over? I just wanted to know. I can tell you this, that this leg is tan and this one isn't. And I tanned this one so that when I'd sit there, I wouldn't look as old.
That's good.
Yeah, but I didn't go, shh. I went,
Yeah.
Estee Lauder for legs.
That's good. That's a good.
No, it's wrinkled.
Okay, we want another deep question like
Okay,
that.
okay, you want another one like that? All right. This is a good one. If there was a feature film being made about your life, what actress do you think should play you? I know who I'd like to play me.
Okay, who, Priscilla?
Beyonce. We are dream girls. I stand in the mirror sometimes and I think I am Beyonce.
I'm not sure Beyonce is as good at looking as you are. I mean that. I mean that.
Me either, Oprah.
And I don't know. God forbid I should resemble that remark.
Who do you want to play you, Miss
I want
Beth?
Beyonce to play me too. Turn in your Bibles
I think
to Matthew 14. I told y'all I was afraid the anointing had left the building.
the anointing has left.
I really felt like at the end of case we should just go home. I felt like this was going downhill from here.
I think you really are. I think you got a little black in you,
I
Miss.
told you there is a black woman
There
in
is.
me.
There is.
Yes.
It's a little
yes.
soul in it. You don't have any rhythm, but there is some soul.
Now listen, you haven't seen anything. I got black in me when it comes to rhythm. I've got black in me when it comes to rhythm.
This is her during praise and worship.
Do you think she's prejudiced?
I am speechless.
You're amazing, Miss Beth. Miss Kay, who do you want to play you in the movies?
They're too young to know. No, I was going to say, if anybody imitated me or would become close to my wild personality, it would be Lucille Ball.
Oh, yes. Yes. We can see that. Can we see that? Yeah, that would be good. All right, here's one. When you get to heaven, if you could meet or talk to one person from the Bible, Old Testament or New Testament, who would it be and why would it be that person? And they say you cannot say Jesus. That's an understood.
Is he not going to be in heaven?
No, that's just...
Oh, okay. I just didn't know.
That's just an understood.
Oh, that's just...
It's just
that's
understood
just-
that you want to see Jesus, that we want to see him. So,
Mine would be the Apostle Paul.
yeah.
Because he loved
Yes.
the body of Christ so much, and he really did serve with women. People think that he had a thing against women. That's not true.
That's right.
He really, really did esteem them, and I think he's a wildcat.
Yeah.
I like it.
And you know, one that the book I just love, and of course you wrote a course on it too, but that's Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel, oh my goodness, to have the grace that man had and to be able to stay in that position all those years under different regimes and be God's man. When I was a little girl growing up, there was a picture hanging in my grandmother's house, and it was Daniel in the lion's den, and let's see if I can do this. And he's standing there like this,
Wow.
and he's looking out the window. He's not looking at the lions. And that's the way I want to live. Looking out at the light of God and not at the lions that
Wow.
want to devour you.
Good.
I think the person that comes to my mind that I think I would want to meet is Priscilla, that was married to Aquila, because my grandmother named me for that Bible character. And I've just read the little snippets that we have of her in the scriptures, and she was a strong woman who stood beside her husband and assisted her husband in ministry. And I'd want to meet her and talk with her and dive in deep to what made her life click and mind work and her heart for the Lord. So I'd want to meet her, I think. So can we just talk to that for a moment? Because we had lots of questions from women, in particular women that are in the season of life that I'm in. They're young moms, and they have, my friend Leslie's here. She's got 3 little boys, 2, 3, 4, somewhere in that age, maybe 6, 5, 3, something like that. And there are lots of women like that, and they want to know, how do you balance life? How do you just balance, not even peripheral outside the home things, just how do you balance the daily demands of being a wife, being a mother, and taking priority in that and engaging fully in that, but also the things that come with taking care of yourself, spending time with the Lord, eating healthily, exercising. How do you balance all of that? How did you two women do that when your children were younger?
You know, that verse, to whom much is given, much is required, I think it's also true of time. That when the kids begin to get a little bit older, then I do believe that God calls upon you for a longer period of time in that very direct focus in those very early years when those babies are getting up, when you're trying so hard to set that alarm, but you don't want them to hear the alarm go off. Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're needing to slip up, you're needing to get with God, and you hear them begin to cry, and off you go. What I will tell you, and you keep doing that, but I also will tell you, God is going to meet you where you are. As you have a heart to seek Him with everything you have, He's going to also meet you where you are when you lay Him back down for a nap, where you can head back to it. One of the things that just helped me so much is to realize, Priscilla, you cannot do 1,000 things to the glory of God, girls. We cannot.
right.
And we're trying to
That's
do
right.
so many things. We've even got our kids in so many different kind of classes
Right.
and active. It's driving us crazy, but now we are physically driving them crazy in the minivan.
And
Is
they
that
need
making
rest.
sense?
Yeah.
They need
They're
rest.
exhausted.
Kids are worn out.
They're worn out.
They are stressed out.
Yeah.
They don't need to be playing sports every night and having somebody yell at them and stuff like that. They need to be home with you. Go ahead.
It's got to figure out the several things that we can do to the glory of God in that given season, and just incorporate it into your time with them, where it becomes something that I have open in front of me. I turned to Deuteronomy chapter 6 that I so love, that tells us that we're to impress these things on our children. We're to talk about them when we sit at home and when we walk on the road, when we lie down and when we get up. In other words, while you're living life. And I just want to implore you, and I know you're doing this, but I just want to encourage you in it, that God is not only being presented to them as the boss and the big bad wolf. You understand what I'm saying? But that He is the absolute biggest joy of all of living. It says right before it says, impress it on your children day in and day out. It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. The thing that people ask me continually, be interesting to hear if it's the same thing with you. What do you most want us to pray for you? You pray that I will love Jesus. That is what I want. That is what I want more than anything in the world. Because if we love Him, that is going to come through to our children. Where we might make a lot of mistakes. We're going to blow a whole lot of things. But for them to see the authentic love of Jesus in us, that is so incredibly important. Then just live in the thing. Just live in it.
There was a period in my life when I was young in ministry like you are. I thought, I am magnetized to mattresses. Magnetized to mattresses. I had a son of my old age. I had the worst time. I was so horribly tired. And I kept thinking I had the flu. It was my hormones. So you're going to go through a period when you're tired and when you need your rest. I think I was in menopause and didn't know it. But understand your body. Understand your body and just remember this. Rest is important, and rest is important for sex also. Because sex is vital to your marriage.
Praise the Lord.
It is vital to
Praise
your
the Lord.
marriage.
Now you're preaching, sister. Now you're
I
preaching.
am.
Where's my neck brace? I feel like I need my
You want
neck
to put this
brace.
over your head?
Yes.
Well, wait a minute. You just brought up this issue. Let's just dive into this
Let's
a little
just
bit.
go on there because
there's
this
a
came
woman
up.
over at the Curb Center.
Yes.
A woman over at the Curb Center. We went over there for lunch. She stood right up, as bold and brazen as she was. We were so glad. She stood right up and she said, "How do I get my man to speak my love language? How do I get my marriage to work and operate and be the marriage that it needs to be?" Now, you need to know that we've all gone through seasons in our marriages that have just been the pits.
Yeah.
I don't know about for y'all, but for me, it was year 2. We've only been married 8 years. The first year, people told us it would be difficult. The first year would be hard. And so I went into it looking for difficulty, and it wasn't really that bad. So I thought, well, if this is it, I got it made. Then year 2 hit.
Yes, every other year.
It's every other year.
I want to tell you something. Listen to me very carefully. It may be rough, it may be tough, but hangeth thou in there, oh baby.
Yes.
I'm telling you,
Do it.
he may not be everything you want. He may not be Mr. Ideal and everything, but your tastes change and your appetites change as you get older, and you want a man that is committed to you and that you're committed to him. My husband has been a prince in all of this, an absolute prince. And I thought, God, I am so thankful because we are so different. I mean, you know, but the other day, and he's never told me this before.
What?
I was getting into the wheelchair and I was pivoting by the bed. And he looked at me and he said, "Your
I'm
eyes."
scared to death right
no,
now.
he said, "Your eyes." He said, "Your eyes are so beautiful."
Oh, isn't that sweet? How many years have y'all been married?
How many years have we been married, honey?
Hey, Jack.
Jack, how many years have we been married? 42.
Okay, Jack, I got to tell you something on Jack. One time I was at the Precept Women's Convention with Kay, and I was sitting by Jack while Kay was speaking. He leaned over to me and went, "Isn't she beautiful?" And yes, she is. Now, Kay, what Priscilla and I want you to share with them, you shared with the ladies over at the Curb Center, and you guys are going to need to listen to it one more time, but you can take it. The 2 deepest fears of a man, and I thought it was profound.
And remember the question, this is how do we get them to start speaking our love language in marriage?
Okay.
Right, and love language is kind of a thing that we picked up, made up, and
From Gary Chapman, kind of.
but anyway, the thing is that if you will meet a man's needs, then it will be easier for him to love you. A man has 2 basic fears, and God covers both of them in Ephesians 5. The first fear is the fear of being ruled over by a woman. God made the man the head, and you go to Genesis and you see it.
That's the word.
And in Ephesians 5, it says, "Wives, submit unto your husbands as unto the Lord." As unto the Lord. The second fear that a man has is covered in Ephesians 5:33. Ephesians 5:33 says, "And let the wives see that she reverence her husband." Now, a man's second basic fear is the fear of being found inadequate. Wow. And when I frustrate Jack the most, is, you know, they have discovered, now I'm not this kind of woman, but they have discovered that women that are more dependent usually have a better marriage because it's easier for the man. Now, I'm one more strong woman. I'm the only one up here on a platform that's a strong woman. That is not right. You can't dance.
Yes, you can, Miss
Yes,
Beth.
you can. Yes, you can.
In the privacy of your bedroom, girl.
Listen, I got to tell you this. I've got Dino on...
The piano player?
Yeah, Dino. And New York comes on. And I'll be sitting at my desk. I'll get up and I'm on Broadway, and I am dancing like this to New York, New York, kicking my leg up, and, you know, all of that, swishing around, and I rationalize that I'm getting exercise. So, but anyway,
Well,
how
I
did
just
I
wanna
get to that?
add-
You've got to reverence him. Reverence
him.
means that you respect him, you trust him. It's the male ego. I used to think it is not good for Jack to have an ego. It's not biblical. I will help God get rid of it. Isn't that awful? Bless his heart. We've still been married 42 years. And,
All of us have felt that way.
Yes,
Miss Kay.
yes.
Help God.
And then I discovered, every man has an ego. I raised 3 boys. You know, every man has an ego. Where did it come from? God gave it to them. And so if I want him to get my love language or whatever, I tell you, yes, don't challenge his authority. Now, I think you should let your insights be known because we're a helper. But he is to be the boss, and he is to be respected and admired.
And it won't hurt if you give him a little sex on the side.
Oh, that's right. Well, because
We had almost made it. We had almost made it.
But that's
you
a guy's
see-
need, isn't it? That's our
exactly.
our husband.
1 Corinthians chapter 7. Listen to me very carefully.
She can put a
1
reference on
Corinthians
anything.
chapter 7.
On anything. Tell them about sex, Miss Kay.
First, we've got a book coming out about it with Lifeway. All right, a study. But anyway, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 says this, that a wife does not have authority over her own body. And for a man to avoid fornication, he needs to be married. And honey, if you're having a headache every night, or you've got a 28-day period, you are frustrating that man. And you are not meeting his needs, and you are demeaning him. You are. And not only that, but listen, a man is turned on by sight. At our Uniquely Woman conference, they went out and bought lingerie. They bought cute little nightgowns. You can get them on sale about May. Get out of those grubby things. Invest. One of the men said over at Curve, didn't they? One of the men, as we left, he said, I'm ready to come and throw my billfold at your feet.
It was scary. That was scary.
Yes, honey, I am going to go home and bless my man. I'm going to go home and be a...
That's right.
I'm going to minister to him.
That's right.
Yes.
It is a ministry. It is a ministry.
So now you know.
And
If
this-
you are married, you are called to ministry.
What'd she say?
If you're married, you're called to minister.
That's right.
How many times a week do we have to minister?
I've got the answer. I've got the answer. Straight from the Bible. Straight from the Bible. You do not have authority over your own body. It depends. Listen. And sometimes you just say, God, I am offering my body as a sacrifice. Is it over?
I ain't done nothing yet. I'm already tired.
Okay.
Stop depriving one another Stop depriving one another. He's talking about sex. Now, wait a minute. Except by agreement for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer.
How is your prayer
So
life?
it's either a prayer meeting.
How is your prayer life? That's what I came to ask. Okay,
we gotta move on.
Okay, the scariest part of this is our time is up. We cannot end on this question.
But wait, we cannot, because we've got to talk to the single women. There are many single women in this room. And now that they're all fired up, we got them all fired up talking about sex.
Okay, but I want to tell y'all one thing about submission, because it was Priscilla's dad years ago on his radio program. Y'all listen to Tony Evans? Oh my word. I was young like Priscilla. My kids were really little, and he said something that was so profound. I was driving to work that morning, or I was teaching a class at my church. I was on my way up there, and he says, if you women understood the true meaning of submission, you would not fight it.
That's right.
And so I'm going, Lord have mercy. I'm turning that radio program up. And he said, submission is learning to duck so God can hit your husband. It was one of the most profound things I've ever heard, and the verse that goes with it, because I thought, okay, that's just it. This is such a cool verse, because it says right there in 1 Peter 5:6, humble yourselves therefore under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. In other words, this is true, ladies, in the workplace, anywhere you think you're being treated unfairly. We're not talking about where you're being abused.
No.
Get yourself to safety immediately and get good godly counsel. We will never ask you to stay where you are being endangered, or your children. So let us be clear on that. But in the daily things that we all deal with, when we feel like it's just not a just situation, we're just not getting treated like a royal daughter of Christ ought to be treated, then listen, you just bend the knee, humble ourselves before God, and his arm's going to come down. And somebody's going to get hit. Duck.
Miss Beth, Miss Beth, but that so speaks to one of these questions here. A lady was saying, how do I submit to and follow my husband's leading, when I really believe that what he is asking me to do, it isn't wrong. I just feel like he's being led in a direction that's not wise. And that you answered that question. Yes. It is, you do your part and you humble yourself and submit. He has to answer to God for his part. We've got to answer to God for our part.
Does not mean that you do not share with him, because you are a helper, a counterpart, a complementer, completer. This hand is like the man, and he has strengths and weaknesses. And this is the woman, and she has strengths and weaknesses. And God puts you together to make you stronger. So you share with him. You let him know. Then, if he does not listen, you duck. And let God deal with him. And God will teach him. I just want to share one thing. It says, the man is the head of the woman, and God is the head of Christ. Christ, who is equal with the Father, has a head.
Wow.
And he always and only did those things that please the Father. And you and I are in that position. So it doesn't demean you to have a head.
We got to take just 3 seconds. Can we just encourage the single women who want to live holy, and they want to live in a way that is pleasing to God? Go ahead, encourage them.
Well, I want to say this. I want to say this gently, and I want to say it in good taste. But girls, and this is true for all of us, because I know a whole lot of women who are married that have a whole lot of sexual dysfunction. Yeah. And we're not going to live in the freedom of the Spirit if we keep feeding the flesh. So if we think we're going to watch an R-rated movie and then it's all explicit, and then we're going to ask, how in the world am I supposed to turn from this temptation when I'm feeding that temptation? So get yourself surrounded by people who also have a desire to walk in a sanctified but joyful life. I mean, people that have a lot of joy. I would tell you, you've got an opportunity that we who had young families, Keith and I, our family was on the way immediately. And for us, when I look back at some single women, and I think to myself, man, what I'd have been doing then. I'd have been taking me some mission trips. I'd have been doing this. I'd have been doing that. You have got the opportunity of a lifetime for a while. And ladies, I want to say something to you. We think somehow that all people who are married are happy, and that we'd all be happy if we were married. Unhappy singles make unhappy marriage. You can take that to the bank. So you want God, you let Him tend to you. There's nothing I love better than to talk to a college student that tells me that she's dealing with her stuff before God.
Yeah.
And she's getting that stuff worked out so that, as Oswald Chambers says, no love of the natural heart is safe unless God has taken that heart over first. That's what you want. You just fall head over heels in love with Jesus. And then He brings you in line with that tremendous affection for Christ is going to be the kind of man you want. Don't marry out of your lack of healthiness of heart.
I was just going to say, to your point, Miss Beth, the only thing worse than a single lonely woman is a married lonely woman. Loneliness is not a reason to get married, because I know so many women who are in their marriages. They are more lonely in the marriage than they were when they were by themselves. So be completely content in the season of life God has you. Engage completely in it, in holiness, and then in the right season, in the right time, just as you talked about, when God so chooses in His sovereignty. At the appointed time, God will bring that person to you if it's in His plan.
Serve your church.
And yes, and remember this. We see it all the time. Sex is accepted. Sex outside of marriage is part of the culture. It is an abomination to God. And if you are single, that means that you are doing without sex. Have you got it? For Hebrews 13 says marriage is honorable and all, and the bed undefiled. I taught this to teenagers, but fornicators and adulterers, God will judge. No sex outside of marriage. So what singleness does, it gives you the opportunity for undistracted devotion to the Lord. And then when God brings that bridegroom, if He does, then you're not going to be ashamed, and you know that God has done it, but you are a woman that is developed and ready for that man.
We just bless you and thank you so much for spending this time with us in question and answer. We're going to call the praise team back up. You are such loves. We're going to call them back up, and let's have some praise and worship before we leave this place together. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.